As soon as I saw the trailer for Pine, I remember thinking that this was exactly the type of game that I really have a soft spot in my heart for. I love games that are intended to be relatively short, bite sized experiences that you can finish in one session. I also like stories that are a bit more sentimental, especially those that address the themes of loss and grief. It's just a topic I'm very interested in, and so Pine, a story of loss, looks very fascinating to me. It's a contemplative game about a person who's lost someone very dear to them. Let me know what you think of this demo, and if you like, or perhaps if you avoid, games that deal with more emotionally heavy topics. Thanks for watching and enjoy. It's so much darker when a light goes out than it would have been if it had never shone. John Steinbeck. I think it's also really interesting for this kind of game to have a demo. I'm very curious to see how they leave us wanting more and feeling like we still have enough game to really dig into. Because again, I think this is billed as a sort of one-shot experience in the Steam page, if I'm remembering correctly. Wow. Oh, sorry, bird. I need this tree. There's more that you can go land on. Timber! Oh my goodness. You know what this is reminding me a little bit of? In some of the ways the movement is being used, like is Florence, which was a game that I originally played on mobile. And I don't know if this game is also going to be available on mobile. I'll check and put that in the notes here in the video, but this feels like it would be perfect for mobile if it's not already being considered for it. And I may be saying this and the devs are like, yeah, it's going to be on mobile. Whoop. I've done a little bit of wood chopping, and while I'm not very strong and can't do it for very long, there's this really nice sort of methodical, like with any task, I think, especially more like manual tasks like this, there's just a rhythm to it that's really nice, and you can let your mind wander and think about things. But also it's weird because you can think about things, but also the actual doing of the task takes up a good chunk of your mind. So it also lets you just not think too heavily. It's nice. Wow. So he's thinking about maybe in the years past when he and his partner. Little pine cone. Oh. So probably why it's named Pine. They probably enjoyed picking pine cones together. I will say playing this on controller, I don't think it feels fine, but I think this is probably more suited to the precision you can see is not super great. Suited to mouse and keyboard, which I might grab a mouse in a second. I'm just missing this little pine cone. Mouse or touch screen, I think, might be more enjoyable for a smooth experience. Here we go. I say as I continue with controller. It's like now it's a point of, I think I can make it work. I think I can make it work. Everything else has felt really lovely so far. It's just this sort of more smaller object that we're trying to pick up. But there we go. Oh, there's our house in the distance. Oh. This loss can't have been so long ago because he doesn't look that much older. I think he's let a shadow grow, like more 5 o'clock shadow, or the beginnings of a beard grow in. There's a colder light, so maybe it's a different season. Looks like, is that snow? Maybe the remnants of snow on the ground? Like it's the end of winter moving into spring. Whereas the scenes with his wife are colored warm, probably because they're fond memories as well. And it makes you feel warmer and happier just to look at those palettes. But I wonder if it's not that long ago. So this may be a fresher grief than maybe I originally assumed it was going to be. Spring. Dang, I was kind of spot on. I was like, winter going into spring? Oh, snap. I know my seasons. So I imagine then we probably, as the game structure, will maybe be working through the seasons. Oh, what a cute garden box, too. I see some tomatoes. It looks like maybe cucumbers, lettuce leaves. We've got our at least 3 tasks we got to make sure to do during the day. Maybe thatching our roof, picking our vegetables. Ah, yeah, it looks like we're gathering some grass. It feels like that would have to be relatively frequent upkeep. And also, how do you get to the... I mean, I assume you have ladders, but I would be so scared to stand on my roof. It was primarily made with straw. I'm sure they have also like wood in there, but still, it's just like it feels like it would be so slippery, easy to slip. Maybe is that water for... Oh, I like this movement where it's a up down, sort of mimicking that pull of the lever. But watering the crops, our little garden, perhaps. It's beautiful, but it's so solitary. Perhaps the same tasks again. Building out that routine. Oh. No. Oh God. It's broken? It's stuck. Ah, come on. No. It's gonna break. Dang it. That's so interesting. It's actually mimicking how stuck. Ah, it's like, it's just not going. Oh, jeez. Come on. Dang, it's not moving. Okay, well, now we just have a leak. That's unfortunate. I'll do the vegetables last. In a weird way, I almost feel bad for talking because so much of this is just beautiful nature sounds, and I think just the loneliness of him. Like, he hasn't said a word. We haven't even heard him grunt or make any kind of noise, you know? Just sort of doing his own thing, not talking to anyone, not even talking to himself. They didn't have any kids. I wonder if they have other family that perhaps comes and occasionally visits. Let's see if the bucket we can fix the situation here. Or I guess we just let it drip and we collect the water that way every day till we can figure out a more permanent fix. This is different. I think when you lose someone, it's really difficult to have objects like that surprise you occasionally. Like if you've lost someone and you've cleaned out perhaps most of their things, but then, you know, weeks, months later, a ribbon, like in this game, a ribbon pops up that his wife used to use. It's like that instantly brings back, you know, the moment of remembering, oh yeah, this is how she would tie her hair. And I think what's interesting is how objects like that can immediately transport us back to these positive memories, but in some ways it's almost like it's like a jump scare potentially, because sometimes it can just instantly take you back to the moment of finding out you've lost that person. Uh, it can be the tiniest thing, and it can be years later, and objects will still sometimes do that. And I also think the title, we didn't talk about the title, but it's called Pine. And I discussed how, oh yeah, it's because they were looking for pine cones. I think that's really sweet and cute. But to pine for something, I think as a verb, it's to ache for, it's to wishfully think about or recall or remember or want. And usually if you're pining for something, you're not able, oh, no water? Barely any. If you're pining for something, you're not able to access it. And usually you pine for people. You don't necessarily hear people saying, oh, I'm pining for ice cream. Usually there's much more of a emotional feeling behind it than a craving, for example. It's like a sentimental longing. Little worm. Oh, Bookbinder too. I'm like, they built the garden boxes out of pine wood. That's really cute. Oh. Hold on. I think I might switch to mouse. Oh. We've got a little bit more of a puzzle here. So we have to figure out the ways to properly fit this this garden in. That's really nice. I love that. I think this kind of puzzle, this kind of Tetris-y, what have you. I love this kind of stuff. Okay, let's see. I think we'll want to move that there. This will probably go here. Oh, shucks. I didn't even see these. Oh, no, that works. Cute! And there are some good bugs. There are some bugs that you don't want around your crops, but there are lots of good bugs you want. Gotta be tough also because this seems like a house and a home that they built together. They put a lot of time together in making this really solitary area habitable for both of them. It's a little different if maybe after losing his wife he moved somewhere new. Then it's something fresh or different. He doesn't have anything associated memory-wise, but I mean, the garden boxes, the pine cones in the woods, everything here is a memory or holds potential memory of his wife. Honestly, though, if we don't get this fixed, I worry that we're not going to have enough water for the crops eventually. But maybe that's just me. Maybe it's working out fine. That's okay. I wonder why we've now started fast forwarding through some of the motions that we go through, but the bucket is the thing that we keep having to manually click. I'm curious what the significance of this bucket and what memories it elicits. What's she doing? Is that like survey, like water witching? Or we're just playing a band. This little rhythm game. Cute. It's little things like that that I think about when I think about my relationship, where there are the big moments that are more fun and big and glamorous, like, oh my gosh, we like went on this trip, or oh, we did this fun big activity. But really, the important, what am I carving here? The important day-to-day moments that we constantly are doing involve the weird sounds. Like, we'll make up songs and sing together and just be very weird. The things that we do together, like making random, music using the sticks, or I don't know. I think those are the moments that make relationships, those are the enduring moments of relationships. I feel like, am I moving the mouse odd here? I feel like I'm not carving very well. What am I making? I don't know. Am I making something? I'm trying to rotate my mouse and... Is this whittling? That's really nice. I almost wish we could have like finished it out a bit more. It took a long time to do this carving, especially because with the mouse it was actually quite sluggish. I felt like I switched the controller for it. I like the idea of that, and I like that it did take time because it actually did get me to sort of, again, going back into the idea of just sort of flowing with time, flowing with filling your day with a task, and taking the time to, as you're doing a task, think about the person that you miss. I thought that was quite nice. This is a Kickstarter game. I felt like maybe I saw the Kickstarter for this. I don't think I ended up backing it, but I think I saw it when it went live. So it's developed by Made Up Games, published by Fellow Traveler, with funding from Treasure Hunters Fan Club. That's a fun name. I've never heard of that funding entity. I'll have to look them up. But that was Pine, Story of Loss. I am looking forward to playing more of this game. I think there's more to it than I was anticipating in some ways, and maybe it's much more minimalistic in other ways that I wasn't anticipating. Like, I think the storytelling I figured was probably a non-dialogue, I imagined it would just be quite silent. I like that. I like that they have little mini puzzles just to kind of keep you engaged, have the literal touch points of where I imagine you are touching the controller or maybe touching the screen. I think that's quite smart in a game like this, where it could probably feel like it drags on a little bit otherwise. I think certain elements of the story, I think maybe they hit on harder than perhaps I felt like was necessary. For example, the mundanity of springtime and going through every day doing the same routine. I think we repeated that probably 4 or 5 times. I may have to go back and count, when maybe like 3 would have honestly been fine to get this idea across. And so there are certain things that I think, like that specifically, was dragged out longer than I felt like it needed to be, but I don't think that was a bad choice. It's just one that I probably would have narrowed down a little bit. I'm really interested to see, though, what the other seasons entail, and maybe what the story is going to be of. We don't know why, like what are the circumstances around this loss. Seems like not long ago. It seems like they were both relatively young. So what kind of tragedy befell this family. And I'm curious to see what the developers want to leave us with in terms of like what it means to lose someone and maybe reflect upon that loss. Because I think each game that deals with loss, there have been quite a few that have come out specifically. Like I think of Spiritfarer, the Mortician's Tale. I think of That Dragon Cancer. There are a lot of different games that deal with grief and loss, and so I'm very curious to see what this game adds to the canon of titles that talk about what it means to lose someone you love. But yeah, that's it for today. That was the demo. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a little taste of Pine, which is coming out. Actually, when is it coming out? Let me check really fast. I believe it says just coming soon. So we don't know exactly when, but yeah, here in the Steam description, it says Pine is a single serving game. So it's meant to be played perhaps in like one sitting for the full impact of the storytelling. And its goal is to tell a beautiful, emotional tale. One of the references I see here on Steam is like To the Moon, which I think many folks who have played To the Moon are very focused on like the idea of loss within that game and how it impacts a person. And on the Steam page, it says it really focuses on this idea of memory as a tool for, I think, going through and processing loss. So really cool. I'm very excited to see more. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you would like to discover more games, primarily indies, but you know, I play all sorts of games. Please consider following this channel. I do a lot of Let's Plays that are a bit longer form. I do a lot of demo features. I also host a club called Geeks and Grounds. It is a game club, which works kind of like a book club, but with games, where every month we pick a game out, we play it together as a community and discuss it. We do that through Discord. We have a newsletter that I send weekly that kind of gives a little bit of additional context to the game, maybe additional resources that you can use to think about the game. And we also have a podcast. So if you want to just listen along to the podcast, it's like a mix between, I think, podcasts that do deep dives in sort of one episode format. We do our deep dives over the period of a month. And so we take a game, divide it into essentially 4 weeks of podcasts, and we spend 4 weeks really digging into not just the mechanics, the visuals, the music, but also the themes and what we are getting from it as players. So it's a really fun time. I love it. And if you're interested, go to geeksandgrounds.com. And that's it for today. So I hope you have a wonderful day and night wherever you are, that you find lots of games to play, and I will see you in the next video.